Look at any great empire at its absolute peak, and it seems invincible. The Romans, the British, the French, they didn't just rule land, they ruled the very concept of power. They built monuments designed to outlast time itself. They fielded armies that crushed opposition before it could even organize. To a citizen living under imperial rule, the empire wasn't just a government. It was a force of nature, permanent, unbreakable. But history tells us a different story. Empires don't just fall to outside invaders. Most of the time they are broken from the inside. They rot at the foundation long before the walls cave in. The illusion of absolute power blinds those who hold it, making them deaf to the tremors beneath their feet. Today, we are going to explore the turning points in history where the invincible was shattered. We will look at how ordinary people, pushed to the absolute brink, dismantled centuries of imperial rule, redrew the maps of the world, and proved that no empire lasts forever. By the late 18th century, the British Empire was an unparalleled global juggernaut. They had colonies, trade routes, and a navy that controlled the oceans. But across the Atlantic, an experiment was brewing. The American colonies were supposed to be an economic engine for the crown, a source of raw materials and tax revenue. But distance breeds dissent. Separated by an ocean and months of travel time, a new identity began to form. The colonists didn't just want lower taxes, they started questioning the very legitimacy of a distant king ruling over a land he had never seen. When the crown tightened its grip, sending soldiers to enforce its will, it didn't inspire fear. It ignited a powder keg. The American Revolution wasn't just a war for territory. It was the birth of a radical idea. That power is only legitimate if it is granted by the people. When the British surrendered at Yorktown, it sent a shockwave across the globe. A group of colonists, led by George Washington, had just defeated the greatest military machine on Earth. The crack in the armor of empire had been exposed, and the rest of the world was watching. If the American Revolution cracked the armor, the French Revolution blew the entire system to pieces. France in 1789 was the cultural and political center of Europe. But beneath the staggering wealth of King Louis XVI and the nobility, the country was bankrupt. Decades of war, including funding the American Revolution, had drained the treasury. The common people, the Third Estate, bore the crushing weight of taxation while they literally starved in the streets. The revolution here wasn't about breaking away from a distant ruler. It was about tearing down the ruler sitting right in their own capital. The storming of the Bastille wasn't just a riot. It was an eviction notice to the absolute monarchy. But what started as a demand for a constitution rapidly spiraled into unprecedented bloodshed. The reign of terror consumed the nation. The king and queen were executed. The aristocracy was hunted down. The French Revolution proved that when inequality reaches a breaking point, the resulting explosion doesn't just change the laws, it annihilates the entire social order. The old world of divine right and untouchable monarchs was dead, and it had drowned in its own blood. While Paris burned with ideas of liberty and equality, those ideas were violently denied to the most profitable colony in the world, Saint-Domingue, modern-day Haiti. This small island produced more wealth for the French Empire than all the North American colonies combined. But this wealth was built entirely on the brutal, mechanized system of human slavery. The enslaved population outnumbered their white masters 10-1. In 1791, they rose up. This was not just a rebellion, it was the most successful slave revolt in human history. Under the brilliant military leadership of Toussaint Louverture, the self-liberated army fought off the French planters, the Spanish, the British, and eventually the massive forces sent by Napoleon Bonaparte himself. The Haitian Revolution did what the American and French revolutions only talked about. It completely destroyed the system of slavery and created the first free black republic in the world. By defeating the empires that tried to subjugate them, the Haitians shattered the economic engine that had fueled European dominance for centuries. These three revolutions were the dominoes that started a global chain reaction. The ideas unleashed in the late 18th century could not be contained. Once the precedent was set that subjects could overthrow their masters, the countdown began for every empire on earth. Throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, the age of empires unraveled. South America broke free from Spain and Portugal. The immense Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian empires were dismantled after the devastation of World War I. The British and French empires, exhausted by 2 world wars and facing relentless independence movements, finally collapsed under the weight of their own unsustainable colonial projects. The sheer cost of holding millions of people down against their will eventually bankrupted the conquerors. Look closely, and you will see the exact same pattern in every fallen empire. It always begins with extreme inequality. An elite class becomes entirely disconnected from the reality of the people they rule. Next comes the economic strain, usually massive debt funded by crushing the lowest classes. Finally, the spark, a unifying idea that a different world is actually possible. Empires rely on the illusion of permanence. They demand that their subjects believe resistance is futile. But history proves otherwise. Power is never permanent, and when the foundation rots, it only takes one revolution to bring the entire empire crashing down. Thanks for watching. If you want to dive deeper into the empires that shaped our world, like and hit subscribe.